We have another question?
Out of all of your crazy fans you've ever talked to, what is the most outlandish thing that any of them have ever asked?
What's the most outlandish question a fan has ever asked? This should be good.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself for making a movie that that makes profit from the suffering of people? How do the original the families, the survivors, and the families of the victims feel? I think that's the most ridiculous question, because it didn't happen. There is no original Chainsaw Massacre, so I think of all the questions, that's the one that really has gotten to me. And when I said it was not real, it was all made up, one woman said to me, yeah, well then how did they get the police footage at the end? And I said, oh, they shot that too? And it was great, because it was like a light bulb went off in her head. Oh. And by the way, I thought the police footage at the end of the Chainsaw remake was the scariest thing in the movie. I thought that was scarier than the rest of the movie entirely.
Okay.
Have you ever had sex with your mask on? I really was asked.
And have you?
I hadn't until that point.
With that young lady?
Doing it with the mask on. Who said it was a lady? Or young.
This is my fourth convention, and I haven't been asked an outlandish question yet.
Well, there's a goal for this weekend, if anyone is interested.
Have you ever had sex with a costume on?
Have you ever contributed to the delinquency of a minor? Because he was a minor in the movie. Oh, yeah. See, whenever somewhere.
Stick to the funny voices.
Right. Good question over here.
Wait.
I generally think, do you feel target? That most of the remakes, with the exception of a few, have been, left wanting. And do you think that it's generally from a lack of new ideas and from ambition, or just purely from money?
Are you talking about remakes?
Yeah, the remakes, right. And are there any that you gentlemen feel that have been successful in either adding to or retelling, like actually forwarding the story instead of just kind of in a capitalist way, just rehashing something, and very rarely doing it better than what was done, doing it.
Yeah. I think the motive for making remakes is strictly money. I think people who make remakes basically don't have the courage to take a chance and come up with a fresh idea. Maybe they don't have a fresh idea. I find it really discouraging that people want to make remakes. The producers who did Chainsaw Remake, did an interview with Fango in which they said that they had made a list of all the movies from the 70s and 80s that could be remade, and that was going to be their careers. I think that's got nothing to do with creativity. It's got everything to do with making money. I don't know. Oh, there is a remake I've seen that I like more than the original, and that was actually not a horror movie. It was
Teenage Gentlemen Nurses in Bondage?
Well, it was Student Chainsaw Nurses. They're bad to the bone. No, it was Payback, which is based on a movie from the 70s called Point Blank. And there's a movie that I actually, maybe because I saw Payback first, I thought Payback was much more witty and more entertaining than the original Point Blank.
But so as people who all three have acted in horror films, do you keep up with the current crop of horror films? Do you watch horror films exclusively no matter what, or is it not your particular taste in movies? I know, Gunnar, you've mentioned a few horror movies already, but I didn't know if all three of you, because you're in the industry or have been in the industry, if you keep up with those movies.
Yeah, I always did watch horror movies, and I still do, because I enjoy them. Even the ones that are low budget, shitty things, I'll still find something interesting about them, so I watch a lot of them.
Well, Kane and I both perform stunts and coordinate stunts and stuff like that. And it's good to watch some of them just to see what looks good and what looks bad, and how not to do things wrong and stuff. And there's education to be had out of all of them.
And I wanted to add something to the remake question. When they said they were going to remake Friday the 13th, I was like, well, That's not bad. Hoping that maybe I could play the character. And then when they cast someone else, I said, I fucking hate remakes. So if I had done it, I guess I probably wouldn't.
Well, I'm on the remake bandwagon here. My Bloody Valentine is a remake, and the Crazies that's coming out in February, that's a remake of a very obscure George Romero film. So he's an executive producer on the Crazies. But it's, you know, it's just like Gunnar said, it's all about the dollars.
And then if a remake fails, they do a reboot of the remake. Do we have another question out here?
On a similar topic, what's each of your favorite horror movies and why?
What is each of your favorite horror movies and why?
Okay, my favorite horror movie is actually The Haunting, the original, not the remake. I think it's the scariest movie I've ever seen. You never see anything. It's all implied or imagined. The only thing you see are things like something is out in the hall trying to open the door and you see the door handle turning slightly. And I think that movie is terrifying. I watched it again about 5 years ago, and I thought it was better than I remembered it to be. So anyway, that's my favorite horror movie.
Mine is The Exorcist. I loved it at the time, and I still think it's a pretty good movie.
Well, my reason for thinking is quite different than Kane's. My mother dropped me off at the movie theater when I was about 8 years old to see like Herbie the Love Bug or something like that. And we watched Herbie the Love Bug, and then when it was over, we're walking by, I'm like, oh look, The Exorcist is starting. And we snuck into The Exorcist. And I couldn't plug my ears hard enough or close my eyes hard enough to get those images out of my skull. But I sat there and I watched that whole movie and it scared the shit out of me. To this day, like even of the television version of it, I'm like, I can't change it fast enough. So I think that's a pretty damn good movie.
And see, now these days you'd never drop your kid off at the movie theater for 4 hours by themselves.
That's how
I was the youngest of 6.
That's how I saw Favorite Place. But you know, speaking of The Exorcist, you know that there is some sort of priest convention at the Crown Plaza.
Yes, there is.
So I stole a line from my agent. I got on the elevator and a priest got on, and I said, I loved you in The Exorcist.
That's awesome.
I think you guys should pose as priests and maybe a part of their convention so we can see what kind of fun you can stir up.
Speaking of priests, I have a collection of my favorite pictures that I've taken with fans, and I think some of you know that when I take a picture with you, I choke the shit out of you. And I do it for real, kind of, whether you want it or not. And I have a little collection of my favorite ones. One includes a real priest, who I'm choking, a police officer in uniform, and a 2-month-old baby. Yeah. Choked a 2-month-old baby at the parents' request, by the way.